All right, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going exploring something super important for romantic relationships to really work well.
Yeah, it's kind of the foundation, isn't it?
It is. We're diving into respect.
Respect.
Our source this time is an interview with David, who's been happily married for, wow, 15 years.
That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
And he says the key to that success is respect.
It's interesting because sometimes the simplest things, we kind of take them for granted. We think we know all about them.
Right.
But respect, when you actually unpack it and you think about all the different layers, it can completely change the game in a relationship. So, whether you're in a relationship now or you're hoping to be in one someday, or, even if you're just thinking about your relationships with friends and family, this deep dive is going to have something for everybody.
Absolutely. And something that really struck me from David's interview was this idea that respecting your partner really starts with recognizing them as an individual
Mm.
and not just acknowledging that, of course they're a different person,
hmm
but really seeing and valuing their unique thoughts, feelings, and aspirations.
Totally. I mean, it's kind of letting go of this idea that, you need to mold them into someone they're not, or that
Yeah.
you need to change them in some way.
Right.
David even talks about how early on in his marriage, he would, his wife would come to him with something she was struggling with, and his first instinct was to try and fix it, like be Mr. Fix-It problem solver.
Oh, yeah.
And he realized that was actually making her feel unheard. Like she just wanted to be heard.
Yeah, and he told that story about how she finally said to him, you know what, I don't need you to solve anything. I just need you to listen.
Right.
And it was like this huge light bulb moment. And I think a lot of us can relate to that because we often think we're being helpful when we're trying to solve problems. But, we might be missing that chance to just connect and really hear what the other person is saying.
Exactly. And that leads into this whole idea of active listening. And that's something that David really emphasizes, that it's not just about, hearing the words, but making your partner feel like they are truly heard and understood.
Hmm.
And he even admits that, this was a skill that he had to develop over time, that his initial reaction or, instinct to jump in with solutions was actually doing more harm than good
Yeah.
because it was kind of shutting down the communication rather than opening it up.
Makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we do that, even in, just our regular lives?
So
I wonder. But getting back to David's experience, what are some of the ways, like practically, that he, demonstrates respect for his wife?
So he shared some things that were actually surprisingly simple, but really powerful. Like expressing gratitude just for the everyday things that she does, like cooking a meal or, taking care of something around the house. Just noticing those things and expressing gratitude for them or celebrating her achievements. And it didn't have to be something huge, just whatever she had going on in her life, he would, celebrate those wins with her.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that those seemingly small things make a huge difference in making his wife feel valued and appreciated.
It sounds like he's being really intentional about creating that culture of appreciation.
Yeah.
Not just going through the motions or anything, but really thinking about, how those things make a difference.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, kind of about the other side of the coin here. What stood out to you about how respect is shown both ways in their relationship?
Yeah. It's definitely not a one-way street, right?
Yeah.
David talked about how his wife shows him respect by giving him space to be himself,
Yeah.
supporting him through his mistakes because, we all make them, and seeing their relationship as a partnership, right? Not as a competition.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting. He used this analogy of being on the same team,
Oh, interesting.
working together towards a shared goal.
I like that team analogy.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, isn't all collaboration, in a way, a little bit of competition, too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you think they navigate that?
That is a great question. And David didn't specifically address that part of it, but I think it actually makes me think about how healthy competition, as long as it's coming from a place of mutual respect, can actually enhance a relationship.
Oh, interesting.
Right. You can challenge each other, you can push each other to grow, but it's all about making sure that that underlying sense of partnership and support is still there.
So essentially, it's about finding that sweet spot between, collaboration and healthy competition, but never losing sight of the shared goal,
Right.
which is a happy and fulfilling relationship.
Exactly.
That actually ties into David's main takeaway from the interview, which was to, never take your partner for granted.
Yes. And it's so easy to do that, especially when you've been with someone for a long time, you
Yeah.
know? You just kind of fall into these patterns and routines and you forget to appreciate them.
Yeah. That's why, it's so important to remember that, like, it's the little things. It's those consistent, thoughtful actions that really reinforce the foundation of any relationship.
Absolutely. So, building on what we've learned from David, here's something to think about, and it might challenge you a little bit. How can you take this idea of active listening and intentional respect and apply it not just in your romantic relationships, but in all the relationships in your life?
That is a good question.
Right. Think about your friendships, think about your family, think about your colleagues at work. How could recognizing and valuing those individual perspectives, how could that maybe change how you approach those relationships and even transform them in some way?
It's really amazing to me how a simple concept like respect can have such a ripple effect. It can really touch so many different aspects of our lives.
Totally.
Yeah.
It all comes back to that foundation.
So there you have it. Respect.
Dive deep.
It's not just a nice thing to do.
It's essential.
It's essential.
And thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.